Welcome to Unleash and Uncensored, where we dive deep into the world of dogs, working canines, and everything in between. I'm your host, Josh, and each episode we'll be bringing you raw, unfiltered conversations with special guests and real stories from the canine world. Get ready for a wild ride, no leash, no filter, just the real deal. Let's get into it. Awesome. Welcome, guys. My name is Josh. Our first episode of Unleashed and Uncensored is going to focus on what brought me to Inline K9 and where it is now, and experience that led me to where we are with dogs and how I see the world with dogs in it. And like anything, it is just an opinion, but it is mine. So here we go. I'm going to give you a bit of background on what got me into the world of dogs and what experiences led me to kind of where I'm at. So I joined the military in 2003 from Vancouver. I grew up in BC. Don't know what I was thinking at the time. I thought, hey, let's give this a try and, go wear the flag for a bit. Then everything changed with 2001 and September 11th. By 2005, I found myself in Afghanistan for the first of 4 times, which was a change from growing up in Abbotsford, British Columbia. So from there, fast forward until 2006, got me into the Special Operations Forces Command. They started up a new unit, Canadian Special Operations Regiment in Petawawa. I decided, hey, you're 21, 22 at the time, go give that a shot. So I left Edmonton at the time as I was a Patricia. I went out to CSOR, as they later named it, and stayed there for about 7 to 9 years. I ended up leaving the military in 2011. This is something that was always part of the plan, the golden plan as soon as you start. I thought, hey, let's leave the military and become a police officer, right? That was always kind of what I thought I wanted to do. And turns out I was wrong. I got out after my 4th tour to Afghanistan, ended up applying to the RCMP, made it through, a couple of their first checks. And then that's when the government fell in 2010, 2011. So after that, I decided, well, I need a job. I need a paycheck. It's time to go back. I missed the camaraderie. I missed everything about the military, to be honest, at that point. I had no kids. It was just time to enjoy. So went right into Petawawa, back in. I went over to Africa right away. And it became quite clear during that trip that, this wasn't for me. This unit was no longer for me. What was next? And I didn't really know. I had worked with Joint Task Force 2 before. I didn't really know much about them. As you guys know, if you even Google them, there's really not all that much information out there. Just one of those things. They like to keep it, compartmentalized and secretive. So I decided, hey, let's try out for this unit. So 2011, 2012, I decide it is time to maybe try out for this unit. Again, not knowing much. 2013, I went on selection. 2014, I went on a Salter course and ended up graduating at the end of 2014. One of the most professional, by far, selection in 2013 was by far the most professional experience I've ever gone through in the military. It was fantastic from start to finish. It was awful and terrible, both physically and mentally. But it was truly something I'll never forget. So bravo on the way they ran that. And, I hope it's still being run that way because it was fantastic. Ended up doing year-long assaulter course. At the start of that, I had just had my first daughter. She was 1 month old when I left for assaulter course. So I basically left my daughter for almost the first year of her life, which which was difficult. I struggled with that on and off. I was riding the highs of getting to where I needed to get to, but also, it's a lot on the family, and it's a lot on you personally. Leaving a kid that early and not really finding your own steps as a parent. So that was difficult. That continued. Fast forward to the end of a Salter course, see my daughter, in a more consistent time frame. Ended up deploying to Iraq in 2016 and 2018 and 19. Had to think about that. But before that, more importantly, what brought us to dogs and inline. So 2016, I heard there was a canine program at the unit. I didn't really know much about it. I just know, that's something I want to do. That's a specialty that I want. Guys have their different passions, and for me, it was dogs. Some people knew before me. You'd ask some friends, they would tell you that they knew I was going there before I did. So that was super interesting. I jumped on that course. It was, I think 4.5, 5 months. It was well run. A lot of good experience, a lot of good exposure. That was my first intro to training. I had no idea how to train dogs at that time. I had 2 Huskies who, couldn't even recall. I had to keep them at dog parks, and now, my views on those have changed. So just little things like that. This is where I was taught the fundamentals, the basics, communication, everything I preach now, how it started and how it's going. You evolve, both as a person and as a trainer. You find things that you like and you don't like. So 2017 rolls, I do the course. I have my very own military working dog assigned to me. One of them, just an amazing experience. I got to deploy to take him overseas in 2018. First time handler, incredible. Now this is where these next 2 experiences that I'm going to touch on, this is where I feel shaped me to not only the person I am now, but also the trainer that I am now. And in many ways, I got to make so many mistakes on my own that it led me to evolve and not choose a new direction, but shape my direction a lot more consistently. I was so fortunate to be surrounded by other trainers, other tier 1 handlers, people who have both a lot of experience, a little experience, and people who have been handling dogs their whole life. I was very fortunate to be trained and training with these people. And I still keep in touch with some of the other allied canine handlers, a British and American SAS and DevGru handler. So very fortunate to work alongside these guys and other warriors and see their program, see what they had, see what worked for them, what we needed for us, a couple different things, right? It's, I think a lot of the time, especially as a new handler, you see something shiny, you tend to gravitate towards it. This was something that I didn't do. I found I stuck to the basics, stuck to the communication model, stuck to what got me to where I was. And then from there, that's where I really started to build on that, build those more comprehensive tasks to what we needed our dogs for, and how we use them, employed them as to not chase how other people employ their working dogs. So that was a lot of fun. 2018 was a real learning experience. I got to train on my own almost every day for basically 4 months. I got to make my mistakes. I got to do so without persecution, without worrying about what others thought, without trying to hide it. I got to have my dog look at me on several occasions like, "You're an idiot," basically telling me like, "Hey, I don't understand what you're asking me. Why don't you clarify that?" So that was, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget who I think is one of the strongest dogs in NATO, is like a joke we used to say. Him looking at me, basically telling me, "Hey, I want to do what you want me to do. you're an idiot, explain it to me, right? And I always thought that was kind of funny, because the dog was trying to tell me he didn't understand. And it just a lot of things clicked at that point for me in terms of, okay, I need to break this down. I need to do all these different things, right? So that really helped shape me, give me a better idea on how I wanted to do things, reading the dogs, reading the body language, all the things that go along with that. So that was 2018. Fantastic experience. I pack up, I go back from there, I go on leave. My dog ends up staying at work. That's just how it works. So take some time off, spend some time with family, come back home. Obviously missing my dog, missing work. I went back to work, late 2018, early 2019, and dove right into it. Take my dog every day in the morning. We had a great routine. Go get him, break him, take him out, some simple obedience, whatever it might be. And then he comes and spends the day with me, which was great. Whether I was using him or not, I just didn't want him sitting around. So it was great. So we got to spend a lot of good time with myself and the other members of the team and the rest of the assaulters, just to create a nice, well-rounded dog, right? Which I'll touch on later on how different thoughts on this, specifically, working versus not working. Well, we'll touch on that a bit later. 2019 comes around. I get to go back overseas, back to Iraq, which another great experience. This time, I was a more experienced handler, still finding myself, but still learning, but definitely more confident in the way I do things, the way I use the canine, the way the team needs me to use the dog, and where I need to develop and feel we could really push the capability, because that's what it was all about to me, is how far can we get this capability? That was always fun for me. About halfway through my deployment in 2019, it became clear that without the dog, or when I wasn't training, I found myself longing to train. It really became hey, it's not just a passion. Like this is a way of life that I want to continue. And so there started the so-called love affair with canine, and not only just the capability, but the relationship you build with the dogs, but also how the dog helps build the relationship of everyone around it. It was really cool to watch in a team setting. I'll be honest with you. I was kind of struck sometimes at how the dog could communicate with us without actually speaking the language. I think that's something special, personally, and having lived it and watched it, it was a really cool experience. Got to employ my dog, in 2019, quite a bit, a lot of, explosive area search, different things like that was a really great experience. A lot of lessons learned as per. I think if you're not taking something away, then, there's an issue. So what I could do better always entered the back of my mind. How can I make this more efficient, less demanding for the dog, giving my team and my leaders, a stronger capability. That was always kind of the forefront. So 2019 ends. I come home, two great rotos back to back with the dog, small team deployments, lots of good work. Fantastic. I was riding a high, and then, I think everyone knows what happens next. The world grinds to a halt. COVID, the big scary virus comes and shuts down the world. So this is when I found I wasn't just using canine as a way to achieve my passions. It was actually covering up a whole other issue for me that I didn't really know, or maybe I did and just tucked it down deep inside. So this is where, when I couldn't go into work, when I couldn't be with my dog, I found something was missing. And it wasn't just the dog itself, though. It was, how to explain this? It was having to deal with my own issues, right? My own physical and mental, I don't want to say issues, but they were issues, right? Whether it was talking to someone, or, dealing with pain, be it physically or mental, I found I ended up using the dogs as a way to cover that. Because when I'm, ask anyone that knows me now, when I have the leash in my hand, when I'm teaching, when I'm training with dogs, the world stops. And I think this is the most important thing that I tell my trainers and tell my clients is the pain stops. Nothing else matters when I'm holding a leash. And that's something that I'll just never forget, that feeling. It became my medication, is what it became. So, like any good substance abuse, I used canine and training with my dogs or with other people's dogs as a way to cover up my own personal things that were going on at the time. Which, healthy or unhealthy, up for debate, right? Some people use, drugs, alcohol. I used dogs. Once dogs is no longer an issue, then I got myself into a bit of trouble. I started drinking more. Every day became hey, let's just take the edge off. And my wife noticed it. It was a struggle. It was a struggle for a while. I started talking to a psychologist every week. I still do to this time. And I think it's so important for people for anyone struggling, but people in a lot of these careers. I think it's a great way for you to kind of get some of this stuff off your head, your chest. Super important. So when I didn't have the dog, I started medicating with alcohol, taking that edge off. And quickly, my psychologist and I decided that maybe this isn't the best route. and I, oddly enough, I knew that. Luckily, I didn't get too involved. I wasn't drinking too much volume. It was just always. It just seemed to be an always thing, every day, even if it's not much, right? And that's still a problem. In my mind, it was a problem. I didn't know how else to cope. And for a long time, and to this day, for better or for worse, I would argue I still use dogs as my medication, but as a vice, if you will. But at the end of the day, if that's the difference between me being healthy and moving forward in my own life to be a better person, a better husband, a better dad, I'll take that any day. Personally, I don't think I speak alone here when I say that maybe that's the right way to do it. Whilst continuing to work on your own issues and all the things that might be bothering you deeper too. So COVID was an eye-opening experience for me. I was dealing with a lot of issues. Brain injuries became a big issue for me and a lot of my other colleagues at this time. Just exposure to blasts, both interior, exterior, all the weapons we fire, different calibers, rockets, rifles, all of it. And it became just, at some point the stuff's going to catch up to you. And eventually it did, right? All good things must come to an end. I knew at this time that this was it for me. I started losing my purpose, my why, for wanting to continue the fight. I found that I needed to focus on my own physical and mental well-being. And if I didn't, then my family and everyone would suffer. So that was, that's not an easy decision to make when you're like, I loved working where I worked. Like I worked with the absolute best that Canada has to offer. And I stand by that. Just fantastic people, way more intelligent people than I'll ever be. Driven. Some of these guys I'm just blown away that I'm their colleague, if that makes sense. So I got a lot of lifelong friends from that, and I'll never, I wouldn't trade any of that for what I'm dealing with now. To be honest, it's all part of the journey and we all go through it. So I, at the end of the day, you have to take the good with the bad, and there was so much good. So I took dogs and my family, my friends, right? So for me, taking the dog and moving forward and choosing myself was just what had to happen. So fast forward to May of 2023, years of work on, physio, chiro, psychology, occupational therapy, fuck, you name it. still to this day, it's a, like, we're talking like burnout scenario. I'm still tired of it. Still, 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions a week of all these different therapies or things that are supposed to be good for you, at one point, which is, the devil, or the devil you don't, right? Became an issue. And May of 2023, I decided to officially retire from the Canadian Forces and leave there. So after 19 years of service and 8 or 9 deployments, wouldn't trade any of it. Loved every fucking minute of it. I didn't retire with my canine. My canine, Jordan, military working dog Jordan, was still in service for another couple of years after I left. So he ended up staying there. And now he actually is retired with an ex-RCMP handler and potentially his old handler, good friend of mine and future podcast special guest, Rod Petrovic, who was also a dog handler at the unit, might be taking him and letting him finish out his life with him. So that's fantastic to hear. Jordan is just, I wish nothing but the best for him. He's just fantastic. I just wasn't in a place mentally to care for him at that point when I retired, and I wanted to. I did make the decision that, he went somewhere and got a really good home, and that's what mattered to me. And I still feel that way. I'm glad we had an amazing experience together, but at the end of the day, I moved on with my life, and so did he. And just fortunate enough to have those experiences along the way. So I'm excited for Jordan as he, finishes the rest of his life with his current handler, and hopefully Rod in the future, as that's a great relationship. So that brought me to, 2023, leaving the military. I feel like I sped right past where the whole inception of Inline, and I don't even this, and anyone who knows me, I've never been a business guy. I've never been someone who wanted to run their own business. The military just told me where to be and how to get there, and I would go, right? Like so many other corporate workers. When COVID hit, so backpedal, when COVID hit in 2020 and 2021, that's when, to fill that gap of dogs, I ended up working with a couple of my friends' dogs, just doing my own thing with them and kind of getting what I needed, that medication, so to speak. And turns out I kind of enjoyed it, and also turns out I was pretty good at it, both from a handling perspective and instructing. So, and we'll dive into that next time, but the teaching aspects of it, which is also my medicine. I really, 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 truly believe that. So ended up in 21, started working dogs all the time, and I just kept taking them on and on and on. And I didn't know where this led to. I didn't know what the point of all this was. I just knew that it made me feel good. So that's all that mattered at the time. And to be honest, some days it does still feel like that's all that matters. So when we look at, what it started as, why it started, and where it is now, I always have to remind myself that it doesn't matter how big this gets or how small this gets. Whether it succeeds, fails, grows, shrinks. At the end of the day, this was always for me. This was always about me and making sure that I was able to be my best self for my friends, my family, and my children. So when I get hard on myself for not doing more to grow the business or not spending enough time with others involved in the business, I'm at a point now, and I feel, especially within the last few months, where it doesn't matter. And I'm happy saying that. At the end of the day, all that matters is I go to bed and wake up, and that's more important to me than anything, and wake up the next morning and be there for my life, my family, and my children. So if we keep in mind that Inline was started for that reason, that kind of leads us to where Inline is now, to the type of experience that we try to offer. I always thought, and I use this analogy a lot, everyone's a real estate agent, right? We talked about this There are many of them. You look up Ottawa real estate agents, take your pick, 55,000 of them probably. I don't know, who knows. But, everyone's a dog trainer too, right? So there's no national qualification. There's none of this, At the end of the day, if someone says they're this, you either trust them or you don't, and the product will determine whether, it's credible, right? So in saying that, I've always tried to stand out and be someone that the reason why you want to select us and why you want to choose us and me is because of the experience we offer. Yes, the product. At the end of the day, the product is what matters, but also it's not what's going to keep people coming. I really don't believe that. There are a lot of other areas where the product is good. There are a lot of other trainers in Ottawa that I trust a lot and would recommend. Where I think we differ and why I think we've been so successful is because of the experience that we offer. The relationship I build with my clients, the relationship that we build, all the other trainers involved, how we set up our sessions, how we do things, and the results at the end of the day determine why we started. I started in Barrhaven, working dogs a couple times a week, 8 hours a day, to now we're, wait lists and future programs and potential facility plans. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling and still hard to believe. And that's all possible because of the community and because of the people that we've gotten to work with who have just been amazing. So that's the thing is when, you get home from hard day's work and your kid has gymnastics at 7:00 and you got a session with us at 5:30, inline, why do I need to make that session? Why not reschedule? Why not cancel? Why not do this? Right. The difference is when you come home, you're grabbing a snack, before you come meet me, for me to yell at you for 45 minutes. It's because you enjoy it. It's because you want to be a part of an experience that helps get you where you want to go. But more importantly, have fun along the way, right? And I've learned this more and more. It's cheesy as it is. It's about the journey, right? It really is. I was talking to someone today about this, at the end of the day, the legacy in this world that you leave is you're not going to be remembered for what you did, the career that you had, the philanthropist that you were, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to be remembered for, how you interacted with people, how people thought of you, the relationships that you built, your friends, your family, random people that you hold doors open for or, support their local business. That's what matters. That's why I think we've been so successful. Just that relationship piece is something that just comes so naturally to us and something that I think was ingrained into me. I'm a people person. I like talking to people. I like shooting the shit with people. I like enjoying. And that's kind of, what led to, hey, let's go talk for 45 minutes, right? I want people to feel as though they're getting their money's worth, their time's worth. They're seeing improvement on the product, because at the end of the day, my opinion on dog training doesn't matter. There are thousands like it. The difference is I feel as though we have the ability to communicate that opinion in a way that the dog understands. And at the end of the day, the dog shows us if we're on the right path or not. There's no, you just keep doing it because this is the way I tell you to do it. It doesn't matter what I say, it's what I can show. And if the dogs continue to show us that they understand, then we're on the right path. And I think that's the most important part of all this. So that's kind of a couple of you heard this before, but a little intro to what made me. I will deep dive further into some of the experiences I got to use my military working dog for, and some of how we used him in the team in a future episode. I think that would be a lot of fun for a lot of people. There's a lot of really cool stuff, and the dog is just the whole trust your dog thing. It's incredible. I will be touching on, where we want to go in the future, why we're set up the way we are. And, I would say the big thing for us is is what's next for us. That's going to be a big deal for you guys. We have lots of plans. At the end of the day, I'm still putting myself first in all of this. And what I mean by that is if I'm a better version of myself, as it becomes, in my own life, I can be a better version for my clients as well, which then leads to a stronger product, a stronger understanding, and at the end of the day, more referrals, right? Because there's nothing greater than someone saying they've worked with you, they recommend you, and passing on that information. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's not all the advertising. It's not all I think just between from an advertising standpoint, I think maybe in the 3 or 4 years I've spent a couple $100 on advertising, and that was just to boost an Instagram post. So literally nothing. All right. This will be the first time we're really pushing on the advertising side with the podcast and all this. And this will be more fun than advertising. So I don't even know if it counts for advertising, but I'm really excited about this. There's going to be so many fun times, special guests, a lot of specific canine talk, a lot of business talk, entrepreneurial stuff. I want to bring a lot of community members out with me and do face-to-face with them, talk to you about their small business, their experience, how dogs have shaped their life and shaped their world, which is huge for me, and the impacts that they've had in their own life with their children, their family, and their own mental health. I think that's really important. I think it's all very relatable. I think a lot of us can get a sense of, oh yeah, I've been there, or I need that, right? And at the end of the day, these four-legged companions that we have, they might not speak English, but man, do they know how to communicate. And you just have to understand how to listen, and how to talk back. At the end of the day, that's what matters. I think it's enough of me babbling for today. I hope some of you got a little more insight into kind of what makes me tick, why I chose dogs, and why I continue to choose dogs. I do this because I want to, not because I have to. And I think that's an interesting perspective to keep. I absolutely love working with community members and teaching our clients on how to better communicate and integrate their dogs into their lives with us, as they've literally changed my life, and I hope to bring that to you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're definitely going to be touching on a lot more stuff. And if you like this, please like and subscribe. Check out our Instagram. We'll also have this on Spotify and YouTube eventually as well. So please enjoy, share, tell all your friends, and have a great day.